And it's just so fascinating to see how threatened the dairy industry is by these alternatives. But really, they should be embracing it.
I mean, now when you go into the supermarkets, you have whole sections for vegan, vegetarian, plant-based, whatever you want to call it. So we've come a long way within the last, 10, 20 years.
That's such a bigger change for the general public to make, to go from eating burgers to having a bowl of beans. Right? Or from going from sandwiches even to a bowl of beans and greens, right? Like that's a lot to ask someone.
It's our mission to bring this protein to the market because the more non-allergen protein that people can choose, can buy, can have, the better the world can be.
If you have to do all these things to plants to make them taste like animals, maybe we don't have to use the plants at all. Maybe instead we can use microbes. And that's what we do at the Better Meat Co.
Welcome to Real Men Eat Plants, the podcast that challenges the stereotype that a plant-based diet is only for Eve's offspring and green smoothie anarchists. We're here to show you that real men can thrive on a plant-based diet, and that it's not only good for your health, but also for the planet, animals, and most importantly, your libido. Okay, maybe your libido shouldn't be more important than the planet, but we're just being realistic here. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of plant-based living, sharing inspiring stories, exciting plant-based news, and highlighting the achievements of individuals who have embraced this empowering way of life. So grab that green smoothie and settle into your favorite spot, and let's embark on an exciting journey together. Real Men Eat Plants is your hub for inspiration, information, and connection within the vibrant world of plant-based living.
So welcome back, everybody, to the Real Men Eat Plants podcast, where we're going to dive into the exciting advancements in plant-based living. Today, we're exploring the cutting edge of vegan diets, future foods that are changing how we think about plant-based eating. I'm your host, Bryan, and I'm joined by some pioneers who are shaping the food landscape. So I'd like to welcome to the show a few of our guests and let them say hello and introduce themselves. Mr. Eugene Wang, you want to lead us off?
Yes, hi. My name is Eugene Wang. I am the co-founder of CEO of this small company called Sophie's Bionutrient. And obviously, first thing people ask is always, who is Sophie? Well, Sophie is actually my daughter. She's allergic to shellfish. That's how I started to look into microalgae, trying to help people like her having the allergic issue. And then turns out, the more we researched, the more we found out, well, the fermentation technology that we're working on to grow protein from microalgae actually can help solve a lot of issues we're facing on the planet Earth. Now, there's a lot of things I can talk about. I'm not going to bore you guys with all those mundane details, but just want to let you guys understand what we're working on. We can talk about that later on. So that's about me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Paul.
Great to be with you, Bryan, and so many other venerable, prestigious, esteemed co-panelists here. I'm Paul Shapiro, the co-founder and CEO of the Better Meat Co. We're a food technology ingredients company that harnesses the power of fermentation to create novel, next-generation mycoprotein-based whole food, animal-free ingredients that we offer to other food companies so they can make better meat. So through fermentation, we create a mycoprotein that's called Rhiza mycoprotein that is a whole food, all natural, single ingredient alternative meat product that not only has better texture than the alternatives, but is a nutritional powerhouse. It has more protein than eggs, and it's a complete protein, meaning all the essential amino acids. It's got more iron and more zinc than beef. It's got more potassium than bananas, more fiber than oats. And it is a terrific texture and really neutral, kind of slightly umami flavor that is really great for both seafood and terrestrial animal applications. So I'm looking forward to talking about that, but I believe that the future of meat is fungi, and that's what we grow here, high protein microbial fungi that are absolutely delicious, animal-free, and whole food.
Woohoo! Well said. Thanks, Paul, for being here. Kobi.
Just a dude. No. Hi, everybody. I'm Kobi Regev. I am the co-founder, CEO, executive janitor, and everything in between at Pleese Foods. we created a plant cheese called Pleese, mostly because we thought it'd be hilarious to hear New Yorkers who aren't the most polite people in the world say please when they ordered a slice of pizza. I used to work in a pizzeria. I kind of saw how allergic people were to a lot of various ingredients. And so Please cheese is free from dairy, soy, nuts, gluten, all of the stuff that you don't want in your cheese and while you're eating indulgent foods. And we make it from faba beans and chickpeas, and we are now nationally distributed through food service, through Performance Food Group, and we're finally in North Carolina. About time. As of a few weeks ago, I've seen Mike's Vegan Grill. They've added their pizza with our cheese to the menu. We're working, expanding. Today I was on the road here in New York City, just living the grind, living the dream, as they say.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Kobi. Good to see you again. And then we've got a couple of repeat panelists here helping us out. Anthony, say hello.
Hi, my name is Anthony Masiello. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Love Life Telehealth, which is a national lifestyle telemedicine platform where doctors help their patients focus on the prevention and reversal of disease by addressing the root cause of their illness with lifestyle changes and whole food plant-based nutrition.
Thanks for being here, Anthony. And Will, say hello.
Yes, my name is Will Loiseau, and I am a holistic sports nutritional consultant and practitioner, also a personal trainer, and I'm the founder of Pro Healthy Choice. And pretty much what I do is I intertwine nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle to help people get into the best shape of their lives. So that's pretty much what I'm doing, working with individuals to help spread the word and get people healthier.
I love it. Thank you again, all of you, for being here and participating. I think we've got a little gamut here. We got Anthony can help you focus on the health side. Will get us into shape. We got some great food to eat along the journey here. So we've got a nice little panel. I'd like to dive into that sort of the food innovations that each of you are working on a little bit and sort of unpack, the three big things that we as plant-basers really focus on is our health, the planet, and the animals, of course. And so love to just sort of hear each of you talk about what's going on, maybe do a little bit deeper dive on each of your projects that you have and talk about the sustainability and some of those other aspects. So I'll let Kobi, maybe you want to kick us off and walk us through it a little bit more deeper.
Yeah, I was just telling somebody about this today. We have figured out a way to use the same equipment that is used to produce traditional dairy cheese and without any dairy. And to me, that's probably like the funniest, and we make it in Wisconsin, which to me is even funnier. There's no need for all that land use, all that water use, all of the suffering, if you can literally just scale up production into existing facilities. We use half the carbon emissions, way less water. If you go in deep into how much water is required to raise a calf and produce milk, and it just, that requirement's not there. And especially the worst part is the carbon emissions from the cows. So we've been able to reduce all of that using pre-existing equipment and scale that up. To me, that's fascinating. It's using what's there already and just scaling it up in a way that you sometimes, like, there's a lot of innovation right now that you need to create new facilities. You need a new foundation, new equipment that isn't there yet. So being able to just go in and just tweak a recipe and scale it, to me is like the dream come true as far as sustainability and all of that. What makes us a little bit special, a little bit different is, well, I come from the pizza industry, like I mentioned earlier, so I really understand what consumers want. I can tell everything from the amount of stretch, the amount of melt, the type of equipment. There's so much nuance that goes into every recipe, and that's really our innovation. There's no The innovation is not necessarily in the technology, it's really just the people who are making it. And I really love that about what we do. And there's always new ingredients coming in, and being a smaller team, being able to test and see what's there and see if we could scale it up is really important to us. And I that's kind of something that I love about it, is like a vendor can reach out to me, and then within a month or so we can try it and try to scale it and see if it's appropriate for us, and we can all of a sudden reduce our carbon emissions even further because the ingredient came from the United States instead of Canada or something like that.
I love it. So are you putting out a call to all the dairy cheese producers to reach out to you as your scaling needs grow, that you can say, hey, we'll help introduce you to the new formulas here and help you be part of the Pleese empire, I guess?
My dream is, I'm a child of the 80s and 90s, so I was very influenced by Coca-Cola and their commercial ability and how they go into different countries and kind of they have the secret recipe powder that goes to every facility, but then everything's tweaked a little bit for every region.
Yeah.
And that's my dream, is to connect with dairy producers from countries all over the world, license our recipes to them, our brand, and grow that way. I think it's the most efficient way for us to grow, and it's a better way to give a bigger impact on the planet.
I love it. That's exciting. I know we've chatted a few times, and that was interesting to hear you're able to do it on the same equipment. I didn't know that, but that is awesome, because it's the same thing. I think, Tesla and the electric cars are trying to figure out how do we repurpose the gas stations and stuff. I hope they can get to that full battery swap out so you don't have to sit there for 2 hours and wait. But yeah, maybe Paul, you want to walk us through your side of the fence a little bit?
I would love to, Bryan, and I just have to give a little bit of respect to Kobi when he mentioned he's the chief janitor also at Pleese, because I talked a little bit about what we do, but I can assure you as CEO, I share those same role that Kobi has. So I appreciate, Kobi, that your hands are as dirty as mine.
Executive,
Yes, indeed. Okay, so if you think about the way that most plant-based meat is made today, you have to, let's say, take a Beyond Burger as an example. You have to grow a field of peas, harvest a field of peas, mill it into a flour, but that pea flour is very low in protein, maybe like 20% protein at most. And then you've got to make it highly proteinaceous, which means you have to strip out the fat, strip out the fiber, concentrate it down into a pea protein powder that like an athlete might take as a supplement. Now you've got something that's very protein packed, but it's a powder. It doesn't have the texture of animal meat. So then you have to subject it to extrusion, which is a fancy way of saying lots of pressure, lots of heat. Then you get your hero ingredient, which is texturized pea protein. And then you've got to add, 15 or so other ingredients to it, and you get a Beyond Burger. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Beyond Burgers. I just had one the other day. They're good. I think it's a great company, and I'm all for them. But that's a lot of things that you have to do to peas to make them look and taste like beef. And that's the reason that a Beyond Burger is a lot more expensive than a conventional slaughter-based burger. It's not that peas are more expensive than beef. It's that the burger is not really made from peas. It's made from a tiny fraction of the pea that's had a lot of processes subjected to it, and it's then added to a lot of other ingredients. So the question is, if you have to do all these things to plants to make them taste like animals, maybe we don't have to use the plants at all. Maybe instead we can use microbes. And that's what we do at the Better Meat Co. Instead of making plant-based meat, we're using microbial fungi to fuel the future of the animal-free meat movement. And so rather than doing all the things that I just mentioned, we run a simple fermentation technique. We take a process that occurs in nature, we wrap it in stainless steel, and we run a fermentation technique that within a matter of mere hours creates this rhiza mycoprotein that, again, on its own has a meat-like texture and a superior nutritional profile to animal meat or, frankly, to plant-based meat. And so if you think about a cow who takes more than a year of feeding before you get a steak, or a pig who takes more than 5 months of feeding before you get a pork chop, or a chicken who takes about 45 days of feeding before you get nuggets, in our case, we feed our little microbial fungi for less than one single day. from the time we inoculate our fermenter to the time that we harvest our fermenter is less than 1 single day, making it among the most efficient ways and most sustainable ways to produce protein that the world has ever seen. And it naturally contains this highly meat-like texture and a highly protein-packed nutritional profile without any saturated fat, without any cholesterol, and packed with fiber. And so you get this product that gives you all the things about meat that you want: the texture, the protein, the iron, the zinc, but you don't get the things about meat that you don't want: the saturated fat, the cholesterol, the excess calories, the animal cruelty, the environmental degradation, and more. And so this is a way that you can really have your meat and eat it too. And so by making the future of plant-based meat be not plants at all, but rather microbes, we believe that we, again, are fueling the future with a fermentation-based future that will create the better next generation of alternative meats that can help wean humanity from our reliance on animals for food. And so, look, we've been using animals for thousands of years for food. It's not going to change overnight. But at the same time, we were using horses for thousands of years for transportation. Didn't change overnight, but once we had cars, or what were originally called horseless carriages, it changed within decades. For thousands of years, we harpooned whales, and that's how we lit our homes. That didn't change overnight, but once kerosene was invented, we had a better way to light our homes, and whaling really ceased within a matter of decades. For thousands of years, we live-plucked geese in order to write with quill pens. That didn't stop because people cared about geese. It stopped because metal fountain pens were invented, and all of a sudden, we had a better way to write than we had before. And that happened over decades also. And so what we're trying to do is to create a new type of technology that can render the factory farming of animals as obsolete as a whaling boat, or a slaughterhouse, or a horse-drawn carriage, and make the slaughterhouse that obsolete.
Well said. I mean, I have a brand new newborn at home, 2 weeks old, and I hope by the time she graduates college, these 2 decades have gone by, and we can see that shift has occurred. I've heard your TED Talk, Paul. I've heard you speak to me about this same kind of thing a couple times, and each time I hear it, it still gives me goosebumps and resonates with me that we have to help the society wake up to see that kind of change happen. So.
Well, it's very kind of you, Bryan. So first of all, I appreciate your unintended pun about goosebumps while I'm talking about goose quill pens. So first of all, good. Second, congratulations on your newborn. And third, I agree. I hope that your newborn becomes an adult at a time when humanity has liberated itself from its reliance on animals for food. I think it's going to take a lot to get there, but things can happen fast. 20 years ago, we didn't have smartphones, and now everybody on the planet has a supercomputer in their pocket. The idea that we would be shifting away from internal combustion cars was totally anathema even 15 years ago. And now you have numerous states, including where I am in California, that have laws phasing out internal combustion cars. And you have automakers like General Motors who have also given dates by which they intend to phase out internal combustion cars too. And so things have a way of changing in ways that we wouldn't have imagined. And right now it may seem really hard, almost impossible to believe that we actually are going to move away from the factory farming of animals, given how rapidly meat demand is rising around the world. But if we can create new technologies that are better than animal agriculture, that are cheaper, taste better, healthier, and so on, I believe that we have a chance of making that happen.
I love it. Well said, Paul. And I mean, you see it even with AI. I mean, AI is changing day to day and week to week. So, we're all in for a lot of change over the next 20 years in a lot of ways. Eugene, I think your products bring such an interesting spin to it as well, because there are so many allergies out there. And I know Kobi touched on it a little bit too. So just walk us through your process and your product one more time and a little bit deeper, and touch on some of the awesome ways you're helping the allergy side of the fence too.
Yeah, so a little bit different than Paul and Kobe, that we're actually not making a meat or a cheese per se. We're actually making an ingredient so that all the food manufacturers can enjoy, can use. Reason why we thought that is the best route is obviously, we believe that can make the most impact. And quite honestly, with the least amount of marketing dollars. Quite honestly, if you want to market your meat or cheese or pizza, it takes a lot of marketing dollars, as you can imagine. And with a B2B model, we can save a lot of that while achieving a lot of impact or sales. Now, what we do differently, maybe or similarly to some extent, is that we're using a different type of microorganism called microalgae, which is Chlorella spirulina. You can see in the regular supplement store. The key difference is that this strain of Chlorella that we have has already been domesticated that is suitable for protein production. And by that I mean, imagine or remember that last time you go to the supplement store, when you check out the spirulina or Chlorella powder, it is always very green, very dark in color, very fishy in smell, and also very, very expensive in price. Now, this is the key difference. Our protein flour, it's white, neutral in color. It's pleasant in their smell because there's not a lot of fatty acids where you think it's healthy. That's also the reason why it's smelly, it's fishy. And so that's why our powder is very pleasant in flavor as well. Now, the key thing is that using precision fermentation, we are able to bring the cost down to as low as close to $1 per kilo in the foreseeable future. Now, think about that, $1 per kilo for protein. That's almost like what, soy protein? You can then feed it to the animals that we're eating. Then that can really make the whole world really sustainable. And better yet, just like you mentioned, there is no known allergen yet discovered on any strain of microalgae. And that's a good news because when we talk about protein, the key issue, the key problem, always coming back haunting the industry participants is the fact that a lot of proteins, animal or plant, has a lot of allergens. Just like my daughter Sophie suffering from that issue. So that's why we believe it's our mission to bring this protein to the market, because the more non-allergen protein that people can choose, can buy, can have, the better the world can be.
I love it. Very well said. I want to open it up for Anthony and Will to sort of weigh in with some questions or comments for our other guests here. So I don't know if either of you have a quick question to ask them. I have one or two.
Oh, just before that, Eugene, I love that you figured out a way to make it white instead of green, because I make a lot of smoothies for iron with that, and my girls always like cringe all of a sudden when it turns green. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. I can't wait till you send me a sample.
Thank you. And trust me, that green looks healthy, but the smell of the grassy flavor is just so overwhelming. You don't want to eat it for like the whole day or even the whole meal,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony, looked like you had a question.
Oh, I was going to say I'm learning so much. Thank you all. And I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing for the state sustainability, for health, for all the reasons. It's fantastic. I was just curious, a question for you, Paul. Are you producing a product, or are you also kind of producing an ingredient that others will turn into a product?
Thanks, Anthony. Both. So we're a B2B ingredients company at the Better Meat Co. And so primarily we sell the mycoprotein that we grow to other food companies for them to make products. At the same time, in order to showcase the versatility and utility of our mycoprotein, we do also make some limited goods like mycoprotein steaks that we sell to restaurants in the Northern California region that are on menus now. And so you can go and order a Better Meat Co. steak. But our goal is not to be a company that makes steaks. Our goal is to be like the Cargill of mycoprotein. Right now, if you go to Cargill, you can buy soy protein, pea protein, wheat protein, chickpea protein, fava bean protein, and so on. You can't go to anybody and buy mycoprotein as a B2B ingredient. Like if you wanted to right now, it's just not really feasible to do that in North America. And so what we're doing is creating an ingredients company to sell these extremely versatile ingredients that current food companies, including plant-based meat companies, can use to make better meat.
Yeah, I'll say this. At the beginning of my plant-based journey, that was hardly any options in the supermarket. I mean, there was two companies, I won't say their names, but one came in a red box, tastes like cardboard. The other came in a green box. And, I just had to choose one or the other. And growing up in Long Island, New York, I used to go to the pizzerias, and this was before they have all the options they have now. And I would go to the, pizzeria, and I would order, let me just get a pizza, a couple slices with just vegetables and no cheese. And they would look at me like I was an alien. You know what I mean? They would go to the cash register. They didn't know how to ring it up. So they would ring me up with the same price as cheese. And, I would just say to myself, hey, this is crazy. Why am I paying the same price? Because I know cheese is the most expensive ingredient. So after a couple of weeks, I just would go to the pizzeria and order dough. And then I'd just bring the dough home and make my own pizza. And I just was, I guess I was desperate at the time for more options. I mean, now when you go into the supermarkets, you have whole sections for vegan, vegetarian, plant-based, whatever you want to call it. So we've come a long way within the last, 10, 20 years. And it's just going to be real interesting to see how many more options and what other type of ingredients are going to be made to increase and make these other options available.
Will, it's funny you mention that because when I became vegan in 1993, and I remember I went to the supermarket because I had heard of this thing called soy milk. And, it was like 31 years ago, right? And the only thing they had was the Eden soy, which was a shelf-stable carton, and it had two ingredients, soybeans and water. And, frankly, today, if I drank that, I probably would be fine with it. But I remember I was a young teenager at the time, and I put that on my cereal. And I remember telling my mom, look, I think I might just put orange juice on my cereal instead. Like it just,
Right.
it's not exactly what I wanted. But now, look, I've been vegan for over 3 decades now. And to your point, Will, about getting people in the best shape of their life, I recently got done. I went to DexaFit and I got done like the VO2 max test and the DEXA scan and all of that stuff. And I was very proud to say, I wouldn't normally talk about this, but for the purpose of this show about real men eating plants, I'll say, I'm on the precipice of turning 45 years old. And they told me that my biological age is actually 35. And they said, it's not, they said sometimes people will be like a year or two younger biologically, but I am allegedly, according to DexaFit, 10 years younger than my chronological age. And so, and that's after, 30 plus years of being vegan. So I feel pretty good. Hopefully I don't get hit by a bus, but I appear to be unlikely to keel over from a heart attack anytime soon.
Yeah.
And if you do, we'll all feel sorry for the bus.
Yes, that's right. That bus better have insurance.
That's right.
Well, I've been there. Just 2 weeks ago, I ordered some pizza for some guests and stuff, and ordered mine without the cheese, and it showed up with the cheese, and had to send it back. So yeah, I feel your pain even to this day. But
all right, if you've ever wanted to show off your plant-based lifestyle and do it in style, here's your chance. We have some of the most amazing t-shirts, hats, accessories, coffee mugs, and more at shop.realmeneatplants.com. We have statement t-shirts that will bring a smile to everyone's face. I love the I want tofu tonight tee. Plus, we have podcast tees, Real Women Eat Plants gear, Real Kids Eat Plants, and Real People Eat Plants, just in case men, women, and kids didn't cover it all. Yeah, we love you and love that you want to show off that healthy lifestyle of yours. Again, check out our high-quality gear at shop.realmeneatplants.com and enjoy.
with Kobi's world domination plans, I'm hoping that his cheese will work itself into all the pizza shops. I did have a question. Did you guys see the article a week or two back about the vegan cheese that won at the competition, and then they ripped the award away at the last minute? I don't know if you guys saw that. I wondered, Kobi, what your thoughts were on that. Did that offend you as a no dairy cheese creator?
Yeah, Climax Foods. I was offended, but having worked in the dairy, with the dairy producers, and trying to get, if you go to trade shows, they have the California milk producers booth, and then you have the Wisconsin made booth and all those different things. So I've tried to get in to the Wisconsin made one, and they all look at me like, what do you want? Why are you doing this? And because I'm proud that we're actually making it in Wisconsin. I remember reading that and going, holy crap. Number one, we finally got there. There's a vegan cheese that has surpassed what people consider as a delicious alternative to dairy cheese. That to me was amazing. The technology behind it, the fact that they got there and they fooled the entire panel, I thought was amazing. And the fact that they then tore away the prize didn't surprise me at all. But I'm very glad that Climax went after them and like told the world what happened. And to see it on the Colbert Report and not sorry, what's that late show?
Yeah, late show. Yeah.
I loved him on the Colbert Report, but seeing Stephen Colbert talk about it and the sticky feet aspect of it, I don't know if you guys saw him comment on it. I thought that was really amazing, and it just shows that it can be mainstream. You just have to overcome all these different perceptions, and also that we're, as an industry, threatening what the dairy industry has been doing. I don't know if you guys, well, I do. I troll there's something called the Real Dairy Seal. If you've ever like seen commercials like for Got Milk or whatever, there's like the Real Seal Dairy, and they actually trademark the word real, which to me is sickening and also crazy. And I like literally, it bothered me. I looked up their trademark. I like had to understand, how can you trademark the word real, but they have it. And they what they do in their social media posts is they go, imitation milk doesn't do the same thing as real milk, and they like go after one by one. Like even with cookies, they're like, cookies baked with imitation butter isn't the same, and it's just so fascinating to see how threatened the dairy industry is by these alternatives. But really, they should be embracing it. Like my dad grew up in a farm that had dairy cows, and when I go visit my grandparents when they were still with us, the scent of a dairy farm to me is like nostalgic almost. So like I have no qualms with the livelihood produced by the dairy industry. I understand why they're threatened. They think their way of life is being threatened. I just think that if we can offer better solutions for farmers, something that could be more sustainable for the farmers, better ingredients that have the better impact for all of us, I think that's the way to go. I think that we're not producing enough vegetables in this country. We're not producing enough fruits in this country. The nutrients in the soil is degraded. I know I'm going on a tangent, but I like really think about it. You asked me this.
No, it's so true. It's definitely where my mind wanders too on a lot of levels on that front. I mean, that was just one article I know I saw in the news, and the other article I saw recently. Well, obviously we probably have all seen it. The Impossible rebranding of the healthier burger and all that kind of stuff. So I was curious. I mean, Paul, you already hit on it quite a bit with the sense that it's still a whole bunch of processed foods, and we want to get more closer to that whole food, plant-based diet to a degree. But what's your thoughts on the rebranding of Impossible?
Well, first of all, I'm rooting hard for Impossible's success. I love the company, and it's very important for animals and the planet that they succeed. And frankly, it's important for the rest of the companies in the space. Because if companies that have been the real leaders like Beyond Meat and Impossible don't do well, it has a very negative effect on the rest of the companies in the space, because prospective investors will be less interested, because they'll look at these comps and see that they didn't make money. So it's very important that they succeed. But to answer your question, I like the ad. I thought it was great. I thought it's really cool that they're going after meat consumers, because that's who we need to reach. If we were only going after vegans, what's the point, right? Like there's not a need. Vegans are not the ones who are eating animals. So we're trying to get
right.
who do eat animals to eat fewer animals. And so I really appreciate what Impossible is doing on that score, and I hope it's successful for them. I did want to think about the thing with Climax Foods, which was fantastic. I mean, I wasn't offended that they were stripped of it. It was the best thing that could have happened for them. Being stripped of that award was dramatically better for them than having won the award. As you mentioned, they were on Colbert. They received more attention than they ever could have possibly dreamt of receiving from winning that award. And in all honesty, it made me think of a joke that I used to tell. I don't tell this joke anymore because it's not relevant, but if you've been vegan long enough, you'll know the joke, which is, hey, did you hear about the fire at the vegan cheese factory? The cheese still didn't melt. And the reason you can't tell that joke anymore is it's just not true, right? Like if you told that joke in the 90s, it's actually a really funny joke. But today the cheese does melt, and so it just makes no sense to anybody. But good for them for creating such a product that has performed so well in that competition, and good for them for getting stellar media coverage on it. It was a dream come true for them, I'm sure. I love the Impossible ad. For those who haven't seen it, it's basically a guy who is, essentially saying the problems with meat can be solved with more meat, and just eat meat from plants, not meat from animals. And that's great. If people want to think of plant-based meat as a different type of meat, that's wonderful. Like you go back to these other examples, a metal fountain pen is still a writing utensil. It's not a mimicry of a quill, but it displaced the quill because it was a lot better. And hopefully people will find Impossible products to be much better than animal-based meat.
I love it. Other thoughts or comments on the cheese and the Impossible?
Well, sorry, I just want to also point out that I'm in New York City, and everywhere I've gone, in every subway station, we've switched to digital ads, and every cycle of ads, you see the Impossible meat everywhere. And I was just talking about that earlier. I'm like really proud of them that they're like getting into people's subconscious that way. And I really hope that this new campaign shows growth for them and really takes them to where they want to go.
I love it. The future of food. How do we sort of outline what does this look like for the next 5 to 10 years? What other things can we do to make sure in 20 years, I hope we're beyond 50-50 eating plants. I hope we're closer to 80-20. But what do you guys see as some of the future of food, and what some of the newer innovations that might be coming soon? I know there's some of the CRISPR technologies and all sorts of cool innovations happening. I don't know, Anthony or Will, you want to lay in your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I want to say first off, I want to commend you guys for opening up the pathway to make new options for people who are trying to, whether it's animal welfare or whether it's their health, find a different way. Me personally, since I've been in this for quite some time, I'm pretty much going in the direction of trying to find real ingredients. So my emphasis is on learning how to practice better farming methods. So I've become way more knowledgeable than I was several years ago as far as how to grow my own food, as far as trace minerals that are missing in the soil, as far as fertilizers, as far as what crops can grow in, the particular zone that you're living in and things of that nature. So that's personally where I'm going. But, from time to time, I do eat, the vegan foods because I'm always interested when I go in the store. There's new ones popping up every month. So I'm always interested to at least look at them and maybe try them out. So, I think it's great that the space is opening up and providing more options.
I love it. Anthony, you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I echo what Will said as far as, just commending everyone for what you're doing. It's what I honestly love about so many of us in this space, as early adopters and now as early innovators and trying to help push this movement. It's really important. And I agree with Paul. It's important for all of us to be successful because that's what's going to help others to build on what we're doing now. It's interesting to me. I hadn't really thought about the ingredient, producing ingredients for other people to use, like Eugene is doing and Paul is doing. And it's very easy for me to wrap my head around what you're doing, Kobi, because of course, like I'm in New Jersey and pizza was like my go-to forever, and I've ordered tons of pizzas with the vegetables on it and with no cheese on it. And my trick is I go back to the same place and I pay the bill and I'm proud that I didn't get the cheese, even though it costs the same. But at least they don't look at me funny anymore when I do that. But as ingredient producers, I think, I'm just thinking about this today for the first time, but it sounds like tremendous potential there because there are people who are building food products that need protein, right? Or that need, some kind of meat to include in their product. And the fact that they now have options that they can use animal proteins, or they can use animal meats, or they can use I don't know, Paul, do you consider it a plant-based meat or a fungi-based meat, or I love mushrooms. Like I'm just thinking of it as like mushroom meat, if
Yeah.
that's correct.
It's not correct biologically, but the point is just for a quick biology lesson. So, in the world of so you've got plants, you got animals, and you got fungi. These are all three different kingdoms, right, on the tree of life. And in the world of fungi, colloquially, a lot of the times people use fungi and mushroom as synonyms,
Yes.
which is not the case. So only about 10% of species in the fungi kingdom produce mushrooms. 90% do not. So there's all types of fungi that have nothing to do with mushrooms at all. So think about if you have a piece of bread, it has baker's yeast in it. That baker's yeast is fungus, even though it's not a mushroom. Similarly, if you have beer, the brewer's yeast in there, that's fungus. That is not mushroom at all. And what we do is we use a different type of fungal microorganism. So it's not a mushroom at all. It's part of the fungi kingdom, but it's microbial, right? So it's called mycelium, which is kind of like the root-like structure that blankets the earth. And so I mean, I don't care if people want to call it plant-based or not. It doesn't really matter to me. People think of plants and fungi as being similar. I doubt that somebody getting a portobello mushroom thinks it's not plant-based, right? Because it's fungal. Like, nobody thinks that. But either way, like the truth is that what we're doing is we're growing microbial fungi. And this is maybe not relevant to the end consumer who just wants something that tastes great and is cost effective. But for those of us who are kind of interested in the way that we produce these foods and how healthy they can be, whether they're based on whole foods or can be even single ingredient alternative meats, it is relevant because you're not going to make any single ingredient alt meat that has any type of protein in it. Like you might use jackfruit as something like that, but it's void of protein essentially. Whereas what we're doing is creating something that is not only single ingredient and whole food, but is packed with protein and a higher quality protein than most other plant proteins have. That really opens up a lot of doors for a lot of interesting culinary experiences that are not possible with the current set of ingredients that are being used by 99% of the alt meat companies.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm thinking to myself, like, the next time McDonald's wants to bring the McRib back, if that's even a thing anymore, now they have options, right? Or when a company like Ensure, or even some of these kind of weight gain products for people who go to the gym, when they want a protein source, now they have choices, right? They can either choose a whey or an animal-derived protein, or they can choose one that's not.
That's
And
right.
and that to me is addressing things at kind of like a systematic level. And I think that's incredibly important. And it's honestly something that I hadn't really thought about before, because kind of like Will, I'm focused on eating, for myself and coming from a health perspective and my own kind of health recovery story. And having started, gone vegetarian in the 90s and vegans, a couple of years later than that, the many of the alternative products back then, as you pointed out, Paul, were not really things that that we wanted to really consume. And I remember pouring that soy milk and having clumps of stuff fall out on top of my cereal, and I'm like, what is that? Like now I know that that's just soy. I just didn't shake it well enough. But anyway, like thinking about that but that's such a bigger change for the general public to make, to go from eating burgers to having a bowl of beans, right? Or from going from sandwiches even to a bowl of beans and greens, right? Like that's a lot to ask someone. But if we can address this at a systematic level and get the ingredients right, so now they're eating, healthier and more sustainably grown and better for the environment and better for the animals, ingredients that are in the products that they're already familiar with. And to me, as long as it's close enough, then hopefully that's enough to really kind of influence the system.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
Anthony, do you have a connection at 11 Madison? I want to see this marriage of 11 Madison Park in New York City, one of the best vegan restaurants in town, be serving up some of Paul's meat steaks here sooner rather than later. And maybe that'll be your blue cheese moment to get on the map some more, Paul. So
Yeah.
if you're
I don't
listening,
have a
11
connection.
Madison, I'm calling you out, 11 Madison.
To work with Daniel Hum, that would be a real honor, and put a whole food alt steak on the menu. That would be really stellar. I just want to underscore what Anthony was saying. There's some people who are in the plant-based movement who think, well, why can't people just eat beans, right? Why can't people just eat lentil soup and bean and rice burritos and hummus wraps and kale salads and so on? And don't get me wrong, those are great foods. I eat those foods. I love those foods.
Of course.
Unfortunately, people want meat. I wish it weren't true. I don't like that is true, but it's true. It's kind of like, imagine if environmentalists said, well, why can't people just walk and bike more? Like, why make electric cars? Well, people want to drive. Like, you can't get around it. People want to drive. And so we have to find ways to make cars that don't rely on fossil fuels. People want meat. That's just the reality of it. Like, I wish that human nature were different, but it's not. This is the reason why most people who go vegetarian stop being vegetarian. Like, the studies show that nearly 9 out of 10 people who go vegetarian stop being vegetarian. It's very tough when you have that type of a recidivism rate. And so we need to make foods that make it easier for people to maintain a plant-based diet. And that means satiating humanity's meat tooth, so to speak, without animals. And so that really needs to be the goal for us. Now, there may be some people who are happy to eat quinoa and lentils and so on, and that's awesome. I wish there were more of them. I would be thrilled. And frankly, I'm one of them. But we got to play the cards as they're dealt, sadly. And the cards that we have been dealt indicate that we really need to make foods that the masses of humanity want to eat, which means meat.
Yep.
I love it. I know we are going to run out of time here and we probably could talk for another hour, no problem. But I want to be respectful of the time that we blocked off of all these great guests here. So hit us with some parting thoughts on these couple threads that are hanging out there a little bit. But also I want to hear from each of you on your favorite potato salad recipe, because we're heading into the holiday season of summertime and potato salad. So mine is, I love to make a little bit spicier potato salad with horseradish. So it's like a horseradish vinaigrette. And I like to mix my potatoes in with some unique vegetables like asparagus and some of those ones. So it's a completely different take on potato salad, but it is one of my favorites. But Eugene, hit us with some parting thoughts, and you have a favorite potato salad recipe.
I don't
Putting
really
you on
have
the
a
spot.
potato salad recipe, but I have a dish from my mom. It's more a Chinese dish. She liked to cut the potato shred it like a noodle, thin shred, and then she will deep fry it. Well, not deep fry, pan fry, should I say? And it tastes just like kind of a hard noodle.
Okay.
It's very unique. And if you eat it cold, it's a kind of salad, but it's a very different kind of potato salad that I would say. You can Google or YouTube, but there's a lot of recipe like that on YouTube. But
We'll make sure we get one of those in the show notes.
yeah, just a very quick comment on Anthony's comment on it's hard to get people from eating sandwich to a bowl of bean. I totally agree with that, and that's why I believe the future should be processed foods. And I think this remark may be shocking to a lot of people, but trust me, I do believe that although as excellent as what Paul is making to make a clean meat, not everyone will like his meat. Only people like us in the audience in this panel will like it, or maybe some other people who are used to the plant-based foods. But for majority of people, I think processed food are very much needed. And I think we need processed food 2.0. What I mean by that is that, think about the processed food 1.0 being the processed food we used to have back in the 50s, 60s, or even the 70s, where, corporate greed, profit is the only driver, are the only drivers. Where today, the processed food 2.0 I'm talking about is we're processing these foods for the future, for the sustainability, for even health, like what Paul is doing and Kobi is doing. And so really, we should try to encourage consumers to embrace these new processed food. Because quite frankly, without these processed food idea, the industry cannot move on. What we have to do is to make sure that these processed food are not ultra processed food. And how can we do that? The social media, the connectivity we have, the mobile phone in your hand can all be that tool to make sure this transparency happen at every angle, at every manufacturer, at every level. So that's just my 2 cents for the future.
Well said. I didn't even, you think you hit on that really, really well. And I love that coinage of that term, processed foods 2.0. I really love how you embodied that. Kobi, weigh in with some parting thoughts on your potato salad recipe.
Well, I'll start with, I never liked potato salad, but it's so appropriate for this weekend. So I understand why you're asking us that. But it reminded me of my dad has a specific way how he bakes potatoes, like little potatoes, like little red potatoes. And he basically boils them before he roasts them. But he taught my daughter that he's like, this is the family secret. And every time at the table, you're going to see this, your kid's going to grow up like that. Only 2 weeks old, and it's going to pass like this. And then they're 5, 6 teenagers. They hate you, everything in between.
Yeah.
But when she was 4 and she learned the family secret, she would like go up to everyone and like, this is how we do it, but it's a secret. Don't tell anybody. And so, that is, I think, the cutest thing in the world. So boil and then roast in the oven is my tip for the audience. And I would just like to echo a few things that were said here by Eugene, Paul, and Will, specifically the process aspect of it. Growing up on a North American, and Anthony said this too, like growing up on a North American diet, it doesn't matter how vegan we are right now, we still crave what we grew up with. We crave pizza, we crave comfort foods. And we grew up with this idea of like, just throw it in the microwave or just throw it in the oven and we'll have a meal prepared for us sooner. So that convenience factor, I think, is very, I don't want to say Western or American, but it's very like just the sign of the times that we live in. So that's why I created a processed cheese, essentially, when you really boil down to it, what it is. But literally all cheese is processed, even the ones that you like ferment in a cave, like making it is a process. But I also would love to echo what Will was talking about, where I look at our food categories, at least mine and Paul, as and Paul really talked about it, where it's people crave meat. I feel like you crave something that you're used to, and the longer that you're not, like, I'll just give it this as an example, as I talked about it today. I used to be a smoker, so there are times that I still drink, and I haven't smoked a cigarette in 11 years, but there's times that I have dreams where I'm still smoking a cigarette and I'm like enjoying it in my dreams. It's still there in my subconscious, and so but I won't go close. Like if somebody's smoking around me, I'll do this now, like a little old lady. And so that my wife's the same way when it comes to one of those brands of burgers that we were talking about earlier. She smells it and she's like, I can't smell it anymore. So having access to better nutrients in the soil, micronutrients, better vegetables, better fruit, I think is really the future of food. It's the key to our health. It's the key to looking like Paul when we're 45. I wish, Paul, I have 4 years to go, and I feel like I look double your age, but I haven't been vegan as long as you. And I really think that it's a little bit of both. It's convenience and also just focusing on better farming techniques and going back to basics. Because I was talking about this today. I ate a cucumber in Greece 10 years ago that I still think about because I could taste the soil and the nutrients that it grew in. 4 years ago, I was in England and I tasted a strawberry that was better than any strawberry I've had in the last 4 years because of the soil and the nutrients. So there's something that's lacking in the way that we're growing our fruits and vegetables here in the United States, and I think that kind of should be our focus. And don't tell anybody our family secret, okay?
Okay. Well said.
Kobe, the secret
yeah.
fountain of youth is eat a lot of mycoprotein. That's it. That's the
There
only.
we go. I love it.
Paul, let us know your potato secrets.
It's not a secret. Just I'll put it in the chat box here, but also go to, if you can easily find it if you search for plant-based on a budget potato salad recipe. So plant-based on a budget, for full disclosure, is my wife's website. Her name is Toni Okamoto. And she has a great website called Plant-Based on a Budget, tons of really awesome plant-based recipes. And I love this potato salad that she has on there. So you can check that out. Maybe, Bryan, you can include the link that I had in the show notes for this episode.
Absolutely.
Go there. But to conclude, I will simply say the following. There's a lot of promise in what each one of us is doing here right now. But there's also a lot of peril, because the landscape for this industry right now is very rocky. Lots of companies are going under. Many companies are doing layoffs. Venture capital funding in this space has plummeted. This is a very difficult time for startups in the plant-based and alternative protein movement altogether. And what we're witnessing is a real famine going on in the space right now. And so if you are out there and you're thinking, what can you do to help? Well, first of all, if you're somebody with capital, seek out some of these companies to invest in. It's a good opportunity for the future. You can invest at lower valuations today than you could have a couple years ago and get a better deal. And so if you're interested in that, contact the companies that we're talking about here. If you want to talk with me, my company is the Better Me Co., but there's plenty of other good companies here too. And if you're a consumer, buy these products. We need to support these companies, because otherwise these companies are going to, frankly, have a real struggle on their hands. The progress is never self-executing. If you look at what happened to electric cars, they could have been out on the market 15 years earlier, but they weren't, for a whole variety of reasons that we don't need to get into here. But the point is, the movement away from animal foods is not self-executing. In fact, it's going in the wrong direction right now. Meat demand is going up, not down. And so everything that you can do to help support this movement, to try to recreate the meat experience and the cheese experience and the egg experience without animals, we're really grateful for all that you were doing to help that movement.
I love it. Well said. Anthony, help bring us home. Tell us how they can get in touch with you, and what's your potato recipe?
Sure. Again, Anthony Masiello, and the company is Love Life Telehealth. If you want to find a doctor who understands whole food plant-based nutrition, who is not going to ask you where you're getting your protein, who is going to suggest products like these guys are producing here on the show today, you can go there and have a doctor who's completely aligned with your lifestyle and will help you to prevent and reverse disease in the process. I'm going to deviate a little bit, not too far, Bryan, but I'm not going to go with a potato salad recipe, but I really love like a stuffed baked potato. And what I would do is take like a good old yam, like a yellow sweet potato, and I did not know that I should consider boiling it before I bake it, but really just bake that in foil, whether it's on a grill or whether it's in an oven or whatever, and then just kind of split it open and then fill it with like some roasted broccoli or grilled broccoli, some mushrooms, and maybe some garlic, and just enjoy it like that. And it's just, for me, that's a super filling meal. It can be eaten outdoors, and kind of, I don't know, it reminds me of summertime.
Awesome. Thanks. Will, how do people get in touch? And you have a secret potato salad recipe.
All right. Well, the best way to get in contact with me is trueironwill.com. And as far as the potato, on the rare occasion that I do eat potatoes, I like purple stokes. So I might boil purple stokes. They're rich in anthocyanins, cancer-fighting compounds. And I might side it with a little bit of quinoa and some leafy greens, some seasoning, and just make a dish like that. As far as consumers in the future, I always advocate for just being more conscious as far as what you're buying, paying attention to ingredients, The ingredient labels are getting smaller and smaller every year. So you might have to bring a magnifying glass when you go to the supermarket, but just be conscious of what you're eating, do your research, and just look for the healthiest options.
Thanks, Will. I really, really appreciate everybody being here. I want to give Kobi and Eugene a quick second to say how they can get in touch with your companies one more time as we wrap up today. So Eugene, how do we get in touch with you and Sophie?
So just Google Sophie's Bionutrient, Sophie's Bio, B-I-O, and Nutrients, and you will find us. We're not on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn only, and we have our website. Feel free to reach out. Thanks.
Thanks, Eugene. Appreciate you being here. Kobi. There it is.
I'm on mute. Pleese Cheese. Pleese is short for plant cheese, as I was mentioning, and also there's another company out there in England using the same name. So it's Pleese Cheese, or you could go to sayplease.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Kobi Regev, spelt that way. I am not in the military. There's another Kobi Regev out there that's like a flight sergeant or something like that. That is not me. I'm the guy with the Pleese Cheese shirt, like pointing at our logo. I talk to everyone on LinkedIn. Please come and connect with me. And actually, before we go, Paul, are you? And I'm sorry to like use this as a moment, but I think Paul and I are in the Plant-Based Food Association. Are you going to the big event in DC?
I want to. I actually was born and raised in DC proper, so I spent most of my life in the District of Columbia. Sadly, I won't be there, but I wish that I could be. But I hope it's a big success. And I just want to say, I put it in the chat, but I'm a big fan of the Sophie's Bionutrients products. I've bought them frozen in the supermarket before, and they're quite good. So my hat's off on that. And I haven't tried Pleese. I think I got it at a convention one time, but I want to buy it. So I'll have to make sure I look out for that in the supermarket as well.
Webstrontstore.com.
Webstront store. But can I get it in any restaurants in the Sacramento area?
I'm working on that. If you know any Performance Food Group reps in that area, please put me in touch.
Awesome. All right. Very good.
See some networks being built here. Love it.
True iron will.
I love it. Well, it has been an awesome and enlightening discussion about the future of food and the role of innovation in our vegan diets. I'd like to shout out a special thanks to Anthony, Eugene, Paul, Kobi, and Will for joining us today and sharing some of your groundbreaking work. We love to see that change that you're putting out into the world. And that wraps up another episode of the Real Men Eat Plants podcast. Stay tuned for more discussions coming soon about plant-based living. And remember, the future of food is not just what we eat, but how we think about our food choices. Until next time, stay green and keep pushing those boundaries, everybody. Appreciate you being here.
All right, you've reached the end of another enlightening episode of Real Men Eat Plants. We've revved up the man machine and explored the thrilling world of veggies. Remember, guys, flexing your manhood isn't about the size of the steak on your plate, but the strength of sprouts in your salad bowl. For those eager to continue their journey towards plant-powered masculinity, buckle up and head over to our website at realmeneatplants.com. There, you'll unlock access to exclusive content, mouth-watering recipes, and advice from the plant-based powerhouses themselves. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on social media for your daily dose of inspiration and connect with a community of men just like you who have joined the Plant Parade. Remember, it's not just about becoming stronger, healthier, and more vibrant. You're also becoming an eco-warrior, playing a vital role in the wellness of our planet. We appreciate your support and can't wait to catch up with you in the next episode. Until then, keep fueling your manhood with Mother Nature's pantry. And remember, with a sprig of humor, Real Men Eat Plants will be rooting for you until we meet again.